A small request to all of you, please like this video and also watch till the end, because this affects the future of our kids and our grandchildren if we don't do something about it. Well, the Indian government is doing something about it, and the people who are used to doing things the way they wanted to do are being seriously inconvenienced, which is the reason why we are seeing these riots break out. If not contained, they will definitely spill over to the adjoining states such as Nagaland and Mizoram, and I'm going to show you why this is important and why this will spread if it is not completely destroyed right here and right now. We're going to be having a very serious objective look at how drugs are passing through India and how along the way they are infecting many of our children and our grandchildren with this horrible drugs, and why it is imperative that this war needs to be handled the way it is being handled, and why every one of us must support the Modi government. You will get pushback from some interested parties who will try to color this as a religious conflict, and it is not. And I will prove it to you by the end of this monologue why it is not a religious conflict. And this is actually inspired from an article written by an army major general, and I'll put the link for that article also, and you are welcome to read it to understand the depth and the seriousness of this matter. Here we go. The drug and narco terrorism related to the drugs is now at India's doorsteps. India is sandwiched between two different regions, the Golden Crescent and the Golden Triangle. And I'll show you how this is moving around about India, and this will give you an idea of how serious the situation is. Fueled by the 60s counterculture, we also call it the hippie movement, the 70s saw a marked use in cocaine consumption, and now 50 years later we are seeing this smoke-filled ecstasy parties as something that is very common. Don't think that this is happening only at the upper strata of the society. If you have seen the movie 𝙒𝙧𝙤𝙤𝙤 Punjab, you know that it has permeated to all sections of the society. This needs to be dealt with an iron hand. Now, where is drug trade originating? Well, it is actually an international trade now, and people say that opium is grown in one country and it is manufactured in another country, but it is consumed in the West, especially in United States, United Kingdom, Canada, and most of Western Europe, which is where the people can afford the kind of money it costs to consume these drugs. The estimate of the global drug trade is of the order of $400 billion. And how does that break down? It breaks down in the following way. Heroin, about 100 billion, cocaine, another 100 billion, 110 billion, cannabis, around 75 billion, and synthetic drugs, and this is the most dangerous of them all, around 60 billion. I've done a separate monologue about synthetic drugs, especially drugs like fentanyl, and how they are being manufactured and pushed into United States, and it's not going to be long before they will start entering India also. Remember, I told you, anyone who starts getting hooked on fentanyl, their life is not more than 18 months. What unfortunately drug business does is it immediately gives rise to terrorism also, because terrorism requires a lot of money. People need to be paid a lot of money to die for a cause, and more often than not this money is raised by doing drug trafficking operations. Major opium cannabis cultivation areas of the world are also home to terrorist organizations, whether it is the 𝙒𝙑𝙤 or the 𝗤𝙑𝙤𝙤 or Al-Badr, Hizbul Mujahideen, Ulfa, Naxalites, Maoists, or even the dreaded FARC in Colombia. Now, India is very close to two regions where hash and heroin, all these things are grown. Which are the two regions? The Golden Triangle, consisting of the countries of Thailand, Laos, and Myanmar, and I'll put up the map in just one moment, and the Golden Crescent, which is the area between Pakistan and Iran, and from where a lot of drug trafficking takes place. Pakistan did something very clever. They make sure that Afghanistan only grows opium and poppy. they process it, make it into a product in Pakistan. And once it is productized, that's where the maximum money gets generated. People say that ISI now is completely operating out of its revenues from the drug trade. So here is the Golden Crescent area. You can see there that there is the Durand line, which the Afghans don't accept. Pakistan wants to accept it, but Afghans don't. And then you have this one province called the Helmand province, which is where the maximum amount of opium is grown. And from there, it finds its way through various routes. Southern route to Pakistan, you have the Balkan route that goes all the way across Iran into Turkey and into Bulgaria, into Eastern Europe. Then you have the northern route, which goes all the way through the Central Asian republics. This is the Golden Crescent. The one color that's highlighted, that is the Golden Crescent. And then the Golden Crescent drugs are then, most of the time processed in Pakistan, and then they're trafficked into India through the border states of Gujarat, Rajasthan, Punjab, and Jammu and Kashmir. Now, the unfortunate addition to that is the sea routes that are also being now used, opening new avenues. For example, you read this thing in various newspapers and in online sites. In March 2021, a Sri Lankan boat carrying 300 kilos of heroin worth rupees 3,000 crores and 5 AK-47 guns and ammunition was intercepted off the coast of Kerala. In September 2021, nearly 3 tons of heroin, reportedly worth around 21,000 crores, was seized in a major operation at the Mundra port in Gujarat. And they were saying, Mundra is being operated by the Adani, and hence they were trying to put ... The point here is, it is the government that is confiscating all these drugs. Another 56 kilos of cocaine worth rupees 500 crores was found in another container in May 2022 at the same port of Mundra. So now you see that it's not just the land routes, but even the sea routes are being used to smuggle drugs. Now, India finds itself sandwiched between two golden regions. Now, in the Golden Triangle, let's take a quick look at what is happening. 95% of the total opium produced in the Golden Triangle is produced in Myanmar. A significant amount of these drugs enter India along the poorly guarded India-Myanmar border that runs thousands of kilometers through Mizoram, Manipur, and Nagaland. This is what I mentioned to you at the beginning. So this is the Golden Triangle. And as I said, 95% of the opium is grown in the country of Myanmar. Now, what happened then is this narco-terrorism is a major source of finance for the Indian terrorist groups based in Myanmar. Unscrupulous politicians, they cut across party lines. So this is where, when somebody who's not a member of BJP, a party which is a party with a difference, but when somebody else comes and gets absorbed into BJP, I always feel unhappy because you don't know their antecedents, if they've had a hand in this drug take. Many politicians, unfortunately, have their hand in it. In fact, if you remember, when C Company was released in New Delhi, Dr. Subramanian Swamy, who was a guest speaker, who had mentioned about Barmer. This is a place in Rajasthan where you are given license, the farmers are given license to grow opium and hash, and this is for medicinal uses, and how Mr. P. Chidambaram, who does not speak a word of Hindi, had gone there to address a meeting. So this is clearly, something beyond what meets the eye. Now, who are the people who are getting affected now? Manipur has been particularly most severely impacted as it became a source and not just a route of international drug trafficking network. See, we have to do one important distinction here. I think in one of the conversations on Manipur, I had mentioned about how it's not just one set of tribes, that is Kuki tribes, that are in Manipur. There are a total of 35 tribes. You have the Meiteis, you have the Kukis, you have the Nagas, and then you have these migrants called Kuki Chin. Now, these are coming from Myanmar and they are being facilitated to illegally migrate and settle in the hills, which are the exclusive preserves of Kukis. Now, Kukis themselves are in trouble here. They are being displaced by somebody who's coming in illegally from Myanmar, and they call themselves 𝙒𝙧𝙤𝙪𝙥𝙤, and they are actually occupying the forest, and they also are taking advantage of these obscure land rights which prevents the Métis from buying land. The problem is the 𝙒𝙧𝙤𝙪 somehow have acquired Indian citizenship. This is why you are seeing the Mizoram, Nagaland and Manipur all now screaming for National Registry of Citizens, NRC. What are the challenges in the war on drugs? The Manipur government launched a campaign targeting poppy farming since 2017 and destroyed more than 18,600 acres of poppy farms, the majority of them in Kuki inhabited areas. In tandem, drugs worth 500 crore comprising of 54 kilos of brown sugar and 154 kilos of methamphetamine. Meth is also called meth, Breaking Bad, if you remember, that's what he cooks, the protagonist, were seized by Assam Rifles in the border town of Moreh in December 2021. Anyone remember the name Moreh? Moreh is also a town which houses many migrants who came over from Myanmar into India that speak Tamil and Malayalam. So Tamils and Keralites are stuck there. I mean, they made that their home. There are about 15,000 of them, and many get killed whenever there is tension in this area. Now, we take together the seizures by the Narcotics Control Bureau. Drugs worth close to 1750 crores have been captured, dealing a severe blow to the cartels. Now, combined with this, the steps to survey and evict illegal encroachment in protected reserve forest areas, and this spells long-term trouble for the immigrant Chin Kuki narco terrorist groups. We have to now basically separate and distinguish the native Kukis from the 𝙒𝙧𝙤𝙪 illegal immigrants. You have to make that distinction, and the locals are perfectly capable of doing that. It is one group which is also being aided by the drug lords that is actually waging war now. Now, these campaigns have always been violent, and it engulfs entire societies. More than 260,000 people have died from violence during 6 decades of guerrilla conflict in Colombia, and it ebbed, and finally a peace deal with the Revolutionary Armed Forces of Colombia, FARC, was negotiated in 2016. I don't need to mention to you all who was one of the key negotiators. It was our own 𝙒𝙗𝙗 Ravishankar. Now let's take a look at the war on drugs. What happens? Drug menace eats into the core of the societies and severely impacts its youth. Some 35 million people are estimated to suffer from drug use disorder. And once you get hooked on, it is very difficult to get yourself off of these drugs. India should stay its course in its war on drugs, notwithstanding attempts to derail the campaign by giving it political and communal overtones, and by the likes of the EU Parliament, which passed a resolution just when Modi was about to visit France, or the US State Department that harbors different agendas. I know I am a US citizen. I'm saying this with full concern that whenever US State Department, especially some groups, their mouths off stuff about their concern about minorities in India, usually they are giving firing cover. Whether it is the Ilhan Omars of the world, or the Barack Obamas of the world, or even these Christian preachers now who are taking pot shots at Vivek Ramaswamy for him declaring himself as a Hindu. See, this is the problem with Indian American politicians. The moment you declare that you are a Hindu, this is the kind of barrage you have to face. But anyway, that's a matter for a different day and a different time. I'll have a specialist come and talk about that in more detail. So this is where things stand today, and this fight is going to go on. I think you have to give some more time to this government to clear up this thing, and this is not just one place. Golden Triangle and Golden Crescent are linked. ISI is in the thick of all these things. They are getting paid a lot of money because of drug traffic, so that needs to be stopped. So a lot of things still to be done. The most important thing here is to understand the crux of the problem and support the government, because they know what they are doing, and it may not be a straight line success. Sometimes there will be setbacks, but you have to give full confidence to them. Thanks for watching. Please share, subscribe and like this video, as well as please don't forget to click on the bell button for notifications. When you get the notifications, click on all notifications so that you will get every video as soon as it's posted. We put 3 videos a day, sometimes even 4. Thank you very much. Namaskar. Thank you.